The Center, with your host, DC Radical One.
Greetings, Black family, and welcome to On the Wake Up Radio. I am your host, DC Radical One, and you have entered the center. Peace to Lord Bell, and greetings to Unique One Express, who has welcomed me back after a long hiatus. Also, greetings and a BB for Hodier to Philly eBay. And it's so funny. I hadn't even listened to any of the old shows. And I said, let me listen to the last show. I didn't realize I was talking about Biden then. And I didn't realize it's been 2 months, I think, since I've done a show. I was banned, let's see, let me try to get the history correct. So I did the stream of the Truth About COVID book, and I received a medical misinformation warning for that. Be before the straight black pride to Brother Elijah. Um, that was in September. I think that was the middle of September, maybe toward the end of September. So I received a warning for that in late September for presenting the information that was in the book, including information that is readily available on YouTube. They gave me a warning for that. Then, as the Fight the Mandate rally started to form, um, I decided I would pull back because I wanted to live stream the Fight in the Mandate rally. And y'all let me know how many people actually watched the video. That's still up, as far as I know. They haven't taken that down yet. The Fight the Mandate rally. So I decided I wanted to chill out because I had already got a warning. And then, right before the Fight the Mandate rally, no, actually right after, my bad, I received a strike for medical misinformation for a commercial that I had put up for Brother Genie's event back in May. So this was so hilarious. The and let me know if y'all can hear me clear too. The yeah, it was in May that the video was put up, and they went backwards and gave me a medical misinformation strike for a 1 minute commercial for one of Brother Genie's events that was upcoming at that time, and gave it to me. I think the day after the either either that because the mandate rally was Saturday, either that Sunday or Monday. They gave me a strike and said I could not uh, upload anything or live stream or anything for a week. So, for those who've been wondering where was I and why the center hasn't been done and things like that, there's your reason. I could have done it. I could have done radio only on the Wake Up Radio, um, but I just because it was visual stuff that I would rather present. I decided to just you know keep the channel active for things that we had coming up, including the that rally and stuff after that. So that is that's where I've been. Those of you who are in the area, y'all have seen the events and things we've been doing. We've been really focusing on getting the information out about what's going on. Brother Genie was in New York, I guess a couple of weeks ago now. Went up there and did a presentation. He also his new lecture is available at I guess I guess you can still go to warrenhorizon.com and it'll take you to the new website, um, the Social Architects website. And so anybody that's interested in that, they can get that. I highly recommend it. He has some information there that nobody else. that I've seen is talking about, even if they're talking about this situation with the C-19 and everything that's going on, and the the vax and injections and new strains and all this stuff that's going on. Even if people are talking about it, the information that he's putting out and the way he's connecting the dots, no one else is doing it. You know, I feel safe in saying that no one, no black or white or whatever. There are, I've seen more um, Europeans putting out information, especially some European doctors putting out some information and scientists that they've been privy to because of their situation um, within the medical community. But then, even when they put stuff out, they can't put stuff out on a platform like this. They can't. I've actually seen doctors who had their stuff taken down, and they talk about having their stuff taken down, and they're not talking about anything quote unquote radical or extreme in regards to this whole situation. Just really asking questions and bringing up data, and they've been shut down. So, um, I don't know. I plan to go today, hour and a half. Every show I do, every video I post, it could all be the last thing I do. So, um, you know, enjoy it while we're here. Um, I don't know if my wonderful producer got the memo that I was doing the show today. I did tag her in a post, but I don't see her here. She may have, maybe working on another show. I haven't even spoken to her um, this week. Had so much stuff going on. For those who, how many people actually saw or came to the rally? Y'all let me know. Um, and y'all let me know if y'all can hear me too, because I don't see a lot of chatter in the comment section. Yeah, some people call it the chat box, whatever the case may be. So y'all let me know if y'all can hear me because um, things look static. So I don't know. I don't know if it's not that many people. People aren't used to it. Okay. Thank you, Unique One Express. Just wanted to be sure. So we did the mandate rally in Freedom Plaza, and I thought that went well. We had a good turnout considering, because weirdly enough, the weather has been better. The weather has been better since then in December than it was then in November. It was kind of brisk out there, and of course now with Urugu messing with the time and clocks and all that stuff, gets dark quickly and gets brisk quickly, even on a good day. And that wasn't really a great day. It's kind of overcast. I don't know if you could tell from the video. It was overcast and kind of. It wasn't cold yet, but it never warmed up. It's supposed to get in the 50s or whatever. Don't never felt like that really happened. And the minister of wellness was there. Good brother, good brother. If anyone had an issue where they need a religious exemption, uh, he's a brother that I would go to for that. He has documents that he has set up for those situations. So if anybody has that situation, um, and we had a sister come out and speak and talk about basically what we're gonna talk about today. Talk about her situation. Her employment situation was affected by these mandates, and so that's what we're gonna talk about today: is how will the mandates and have the mandates affected the black economy, and we're going to look at a few articles. And I had some articles that I had looked through. Most of them, actually, weirdly enough, most of them are a month or two old, but I think they're still relevant to the situation at hand because the actual mandate will not be has been well, it's up in the air. It's been pushed back. The actual date, implementation date, has been pushed back till, of course, after the quote unquote holiday season, to January 4th. I've talked to different people. A lot of people have asked me about, um, especially healthcare workers, but some other people too, asked me about religious exemptions and um, lawyers and things like that. So I know it's affecting. Well, how can I put it? I have anecdotal evidence of the effects of the mandate on Black people, and hopefully y'all can't hear that. It sounds like an airplane is just flying right over my head right now, like it's about to crash land feet away or whatever. But so I know it is affecting Black people, but I was not able to find um, any statistical data to go along with my anecdotal evidence. But I think it's a big deal because, of course, 90, what, 97, 98% of Black people work for Europeans. Of that percentage, I would say a large percentage work for companies that have over 100 people. Um, like, I don't, you know, if you say a law clerk or a lawyer and you work in a small firm, you're not affected. Um, Even if you work a nurse and you work in a small doctor's office, you more than likely be affected depending on your location. You work retail, you're definitely affected. Maybe somebody that works in like hospitality or work in bars and things like that. Those people may not be affected, but at the same time, those people were already affected by the shutdown of the economy. So it's very likely those people weren't not in the best space economically or financially, even before this. So while they may not be affected by this per se, and of course, government, uh, BB408, and straight black pride to a BB408, man. And of course, government workers, which we have a lot here, are, and government contractors are definitely affected. And so maybe even though the people I've talked to, a lot of the people I've talked to actually are not from this area, but because I'm in this area and because that is in essence that is the major industry in Washington D.C. area is um, the the government. Maybe that's why I'm more sensitive to it and have anecdotal evidence of more of the effects of it. So what I wanted to do is there's a couple of articles I wanted to go to. And then, weirdly enough, at first I couldn't find any articles, and then I started deeper, started finding all types of articles, and then it's like, we got too many. What should I do? And so we're just gonna do the article thing. I didn't load up, even look for any videos, um, because I don't see any. And y'all, y'all correct me or lead me to anything, but I haven't seen any major Black outlets really talk about this subject or address it. I guess the assumption is that Black people are just going to capitulate and do what they need to do to keep their jobs. And if they didn't, who cares? I mean, that seems to be the sentiment from a lot of people. And so I didn't really know if a lot of people were really resisting until, you start talking to people and you realize a lot of people are resisting, but not being public about it. They're fighting it privately because, you know, once, how we are. Once money's involved, Black people tend to capitulate. And actually, in reality, let me clear that up. Most people in America will capitulate when there's money involved. They just bend over and do whatever um, you want people want you to do. So we're gonna look at this first article. Hold up, let me bring it up. All right, let's see. Um, and y'all gotta forgive me. I'm rusty here. It's been a long time, as Rakim, my favorite rapper, would say. So I found this, and this was interesting. I guess this is a conservative outlet. I wasn't familiar with it. The lid, and it says racist. Biden's COVID vaccine mandate disproportionately hurting Black Americans. And it says many Black Americans are scrambling right now trying to figure out how they can keep their jobs. And this is from, and that quote is from Star Parker. Don't know who that is. And this is from September 13th of 2021. So let's get into the article. It says President Joe Biden's federal vaccine mandates has many Black Americans worried they could lose their jobs. This is true. Black syndicated columnist and conservative commentator Star Parker, what Biden is doing is discrimination. That's interesting right there that it would be a conservative um, who would make that assessment at that time. And again, I have no idea who Star Parker is. And if anybody is familiar with her, y'all let me know. But I have no clue who she is. Um, it says right now, a lot of Black Americans, including friends and family members who work for the federal government or federal contractors, are concerned that they could lose their jobs. Parker explained. Privately, many are having conversations trying to figure out how to keep their jobs under these new mandates. Says Black Americans have a long history of distrust of the federal government due to government projects such as the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male. It was an unethically abusive study conducted from 1932 to 1972 by the United States Public Health Service and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention on a group of nearly 400 Black men with syphilis. The distrust explains, at least in part, why many Black Americans say they are hesitant to get uh, the jab. Biden's mandate that all federal workers and military members get the jab will proportionately affect Black Americans. That's because they make up 13.4% of Americans, but 18.37% of the federal workforce, according to the Brookings Institute. Black men are significantly overrepresented in military service. Anecdotally, Blacks are hearing stories about Jesse Jackson, who, despite receiving the jab, was recently hospitalized with a breakthrough infection. Baseball great Hank Aaron was vaccinated against COVID in early January and died 17 days later. Doctors say his death was unrelated to either COVID or the vaccine. Of course, we already knew that they were going to say that. But still, many Black people are skeptical. All I know is this quote is funny. All I know is Hank Aaron got the vaccine. 2 weeks later, he's dead. This is true. There's not this. That's not to say that he died from receiving the jab. All we know is he got the jab and then he died. He was alive before he got the jab and died. That's all we know. We did not do the autopsy. We are not medical professionals. We are not making any claims that these two things are related. We're just giving you a linear sequence of time. So I agree with her with that. She also noted that Black Americans are more likely to have underlying health risks compared with white Americans, and that makes them afraid of being jabbed as well. In New York City, vaccine mandates and restrictions already threaten the civil rights of young Black Americans. More than 7 in 10 young Black Americans in the Big Apple will be denied entrance and employment in New York City restaurants, theaters, and gyms under the city's new vax mandate. That's because only 28%, and of course, this was 2 months ago, of Black people aged 18 to 44, which is young and not so young Black people, have taken the jab. So barely over 1 out of 4 at that time. That is a surprising number to me. Um, Peace to brother Dawood. That is a surprising number to me that it is that low. So again, we talk about the silent resistance. Um, and then she says, talk about equality. Then it says, our woke president can't see or refuse to see how his mandates are hurting Black Americans, said Rick Manning. Again, I'm not familiar with him. President of Americans for Limited Government. That's definitely a conservative think tank. The impact of Blacks in the job market will be devastating, as many will be singled out due to this mandate. This has taken place thus far. What is even worse is that unvaccinated blacks seeking jobs will have their applications not so subtly shifted to the bottom of the pile by human resource officers, a return to practices that were common when Joe Biden was entering the workforce himself. It's so ironic that this stuff is going to make strange bedfellows. It's so ironic to hear a conservative admit that black people's applications being put to the bottom is a historical practice in America, and he's saying that it's going to go to the bottom of the bottom, which I guess that's directly into the trash, not the trash can, but the trash compactor itself. Um, he says top-down mandates are wrong and ineffective. We must have a limited federal government that doesn't mandate personal health choices for everyday Americans. People's per- people's personal choices must be respected. Uh, and we might as well close out this article. It says Joe Biden is once again abusing the power of the executive branch. Manning concluded the American people should be given scientific information they need to assess the risk to themselves and their families, and then they can freely make their choice. Americans must reject Biden's mandates. In recent months, Americans for Limited Government supporters have sent out more than 1 million emails to lawmakers at the local, state, and federal levels urging them to oppose vaccine mandates and passports. All right, so we have that article, which again I found interesting, um, very interesting in fact, um, and I think next we'll go to this article real quick. Um, so, like I said, I found that one. Before then, you got ripped off. I didn't see you come in the building. He said right to the incinerator. Indeed, right to the incinerator. So, we're going to get next to the Biden administration suspends enforcement of vaccine mandate to comply with court order. So, here's what's interesting. The reason I wanted to follow up the last one with this one is because the announcement was made, I guess, in September. And then for many people at that time, the implementation date for people to make a decision one way or the other was November 1st. And then now it's been moved back to January. But a lot of people who were underneath that November deadline have already been affected at their place of employment. So again, with the thing winding its way through court and the opposition in court and things like that, some people have been already been affected and other people haven't, depending on who you work for, and even your location. So different people are falling under um, different laws and guidelines. And then some companies, they just took it and ran with it as soon as they saw it. And then other companies are pulled back. So it's a really uneven application of what's going on. But let's get into the article. And this is from CNBC. Says the Occupational Safety and Health Administration said it suspended activities related to the implementation and enforcement of the requirements pending further the developments in litigation. Translation: we're not going to enforce anything because we don't know whether or not it's legal for us to enforce anything. In the grand scheme of things, that's what they're saying. It says U.S. Court of Appeals of the Fifth Circuit, considered one of the most conservative in the country, ordered OSHA last week to take no steps to implement or enforce the mandate until further court order. They put a complete freeze on it. That judge or that set of judges put a complete freeze on it, and says the White House previously told businesses to proceed with the implementation of their requirements. So apparently, either they were extremely confident that they would win, or they were extremely confident that no one would resist. And either way, as of right now, they are wrong. So let's get into the article. It says the Biden administration has suspended enforcement of its vaccination and testing requirements for private businesses after a federal appeals court halted the rules pending review. OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, in a statement on its website, said the agency has suspended activities related to the implementation and enforcement of the requirements pending further developments in the litigation. The United States Court of Appeals of the Fifth Circuit, considered one of the most conservative in the country, ordered OSHA last week to take no steps to implement or enforce the mandate until further court order. Judge Kurt D. Engelhardt, in an opinion for the three-judge panel, called the Biden policy fatally flawed and staggeringly overbroad, arguing that it likely exceeds the authority of the federal government and raises serious constitutional concerns. The White House previously told businesses to proceed with the implementation of the requirements. Republican Attorney General, private businesses, and national industry groups such as the Federal National Retail Federation, the American Trucking Association, and the National Federation of Independent Businesses have sued to overturn the requirements. Um, hey, wait a minute. This part is interesting. Caught me off guard. It says labor unions are asking the courts to expand the requirements to cover smaller businesses, which is interesting because smaller businesses usually aren't unionized. Um, and my only explanation for that, before I get further into the article, is that labor unions, um, many labor unions were founded by who? Y'all put in the comments who founded the labor unions, and thus that would explain their support for a mandate, despite the fact that they're not even covering the people uh, who from smaller businesses that will be affected by an expansion of this policy. Says that under the Biden policy, wait a minute, hold up. I think I'm going too far. Let's go back. Yeah, I think I lost my place here. Okay. Well, we'll start with the Sixth Circuit. Sixth Circuit, which has a Republican appointed majority, ordered the administration to file a single response by November 30th to several requests for the full court to hear the case rather than a three-judge panel. A hearing of all 16 judges would potentially provide a more favorable venue for those seeking to overturn the requirements due to the court's conservative majority. The Biden administration, in its response to the Fifth Circuit's initial November 6th decision to press pause, warned that a halting implementation of vaccine requirements would likely cost dozens or even hundreds of lives per day as the virus spreads. The National Labor and Justice Departments maintain that OSHA acted well within its authority as established by Congress. Let's stop right there. That's a lie. It's a cut to the chase. That's a lie. That's a lie. They said that by not implementing this stuff, it would cost hundreds of lives per day. In order to make that assumption, we have to assume that hundreds of people are dying right now, right? And and two, that this mandate would cause people to go, or that it would automatically make everybody go get the jab and that the jab would thus stop people from getting the virus. However, those of you who have listened to this show previously, we've gone over and we've heard Mr. Fauci himself say explicitly that there is no discernible difference in the viral load of jabbed and unjabbed and the nasal pharynx with a test, right? And that indeed jabbed can not only get but can pass on the virus. This is medical facts. I can pull up the videos for anyone that wants to debate. Not that that will stop YouTube from taking us down when we're finished, but y'all get the point. So, with those two things that I said being true and being stated by Mr. Fauci himself, who's supposedly the leading authority on all this stuff, how then can one say that not implementing this Biden policy is going to cost people's lives when there's no really discernible difference in transmission of said virus between those who are and are not jabbed, right? I mean, if I'm wrong, you know what I'm saying? Somebody come and clarify it for me, right? Now it says under the Biden policy, businesses with 100 or more employees faced a January 4th deadline to ensure that workers receive the jab or undergo regular testing. It says those who are unjabbed were required to start wearing masks indoors at the workplace as of today, actually, the 5th. That's today. I didn't know that. This OSHA said it remains confident in its authority to protect workers in emergencies. The agency, which polices workplace safety for Labor Department, issued the requirements on its emergency authority. OSHA can shortcut the normal rules making process if the labor secretary determines that a new workplace safety standard is necessary to protect workers from grave dangers. And that part right there is that's how they have managed to implement and do everything that they have done to change everything they've changed, to come up with every new rule they've come up with to shut down the economy because everything is deemed an emergency. Um, and Sister Shaniqua says, read an article that said that people that were let go for not getting the jab, you say can or cannot? Because I already read an article that said that they cannot get unemployment. But if that has changed, let me know. So if that's changed and they can, then that is important for people to know. Says whatever the outcome in federal appeals court, the case will likely be decided by the Supreme Court, according to Carl Tobias, professor of law at the University of Richmond. Whoever loses in the Sixth Circuit is getting ready to go to the Supreme Court. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, in a statement to CNBC this week, advised businesses to proceed with implementation until the requirements are definitively shut down. Interesting. Ultimately, the courts are going to decide, but employers still need to take this as a live ETS until the definitive shutdown. They should not bank on the preliminary actions of the Fifth Circuit. Okay. Okay. Um, that is interesting. So that would explain then. Sister said they can now. Okay, cool. So that last part there with the business where is it? I lost it real quick. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, that's had a brain freeze for a moment. It's interesting that they are advocating for people to implement these things um, despite the whole, to go ahead and do it despite the whole situation. So I got one more article. Um, in addition to that, it's interesting because this is an older article as well, and so because I wanted this just kind of focus on us. It's kind of hard sometimes to find articles focusing on us with this situation because so many of our talking heads and uh, spokespeople either have no opinion or aren't saying anything about it. But this one is from the Morning Consult, and this is an older article as well. It says Biden is less popular with black voters after vaccine mandate rollout. All right, let's get into it. Um, let's see. This by Eli Yokley. Never heard of that person either. It says 71% of black voters approve of Biden's job performance, down 5% since the federal vaccine mandate, while the share who disapprove rose 7 points to 24%. I would really be interested to know if that trend has continued as more and more people have been affected by this, because this is from September 22nd. And most people, like I said, didn't face a decision until November, I believe November 1st, or the first week of November, which has been a month ago. So I would be interested to see. I guess I should have looked it up, but I haven't looked it up. Biden's approval ratings amongst black people. But anyway, says Biden's net approval rating amongst those who are unjabbed has plummeted, and that's interesting. Those who are unjabbed and still vote, that's an interesting demographic, has plummeted 17 points since before the rollout of mandates, which is a lot because that's like you have six people, that's like one person just being like, oh, I'm out of here. And it says 61% of black voters approve of Biden's handling of the virus, down 9 points since August. So the end of August. So basically, in less than a month, he lost 10 points of approval rating amongst black voters, which is a lot. That's a that's a quick drop in a short span of time. Says President Joe Biden's sweeping federal rules to mandate vaccines hasn't hurt him with the overall electorate. Interesting. But it appears to have spurred a weakening of his standing in one of the most reliable pieces of Democratic Party coalition, black voters. Since Morning Consult political intelligence surveys conducted immediately before Biden's September 9th mandate announcement, the president's net approval rating, the share who approve of his job performance minus the share who disapprove, has fallen 12 percentage points amongst black voters, driven by a 17-point drop amongst the unjabbed. The September erosion accounted for more than two-fifths of the decline in the perceptions of Biden's job performance to date amongst black voters, providing a stark warning sign for Democrats ahead of next year's midterms. While black voters allegedly helped push Biden over the top against President Donald Trump in key states last year, are unlikely to abandon the Democratic Party in mass to back Republicans on the ballot next year. Low turnout from the group could have dire consequences for Democrats in Congress, who already face an enthusiasm gap. Biden is still popular with most black voters, um, unfortunately, with 71% of them approving of his job performance, including 37% who do so strongly. Again, I would like to see what those numbers look like as inflation has gone up. Now, a lot of things, it's weirdly enough, this article, I guess it's 3 months old, a lot of things have taken place since this article. So I suspect these numbers are down even further. I'd be surprised. Um, I could be wrong. It says, but since September 8th, the share who disapproved Biden's performance has increased 7 points to 24%, or nearly one fifth, and 14% say they strongly disapprove, which is 1 in 7. Seems like a lot. The rise in negative views came almost entirely from those who some of you all, I can't remember, but somebody said, called us organics. From the organics, 38% of black voters say they have not received the jab, disapprove of Biden's job performance, 38%. That's a lot, up 11 points since he made that announcement, while 56% improved, down 6 points in that time frame. Um, Polls were conducted September 6th through 8th and September 18th through 20th among more than 1,000 black voters with a 3 point margin for error. Okay, so we just pretty much leave that there. So it's interesting. Again, there is I would say that these numbers, and I believe that they have changed in that time because they did the last poll the last week of September, I believe. Well, third week of September, and now we are in early January. And I suspect that Mr. Biden's approval rating has lowered across the board with the massive inflation, as seen by most people with the incredible rise of um, gas prices, the very slow, um, if you've been paying attention, depending on where you live, starting to see more and more shortages, especially a lot of grocery stores never seem to be completely stocked, at least in the different stores that I've gone to throughout this area. Can't speak for everywhere. And the general rise, the inflation and rise in prices in general, and the lack of um, a subsequent rise in pay across the board. So, regardless of whatever the macro numbers are for the economy, more people are feeling squeezed, and that's without us talking about the people who are directly affected and have to make a decision in regards to this mandate. Because the thing about it is, here's the thing, right? Let's say you leave your job, get fired, whatever, because of these mandates. The chances of you finding, because as of right now, it affects companies with 100 or more employees, the chances are, depending on your field, the chances of you finding a subsequent job in your field of equal pay or greater at a smaller firm is not very likely, I would say, right? So, in essence, Mr. Biden is forcing a lot of black people to make the choice of downsizing economically, or, as some people believe, putting their health at risk. Because we can, regardless of what the scientists say or whatever, there's never really, these are not, and they've stated this part, these are not traditional, that's the word I use, these are not what we traditionally know as vaccines. They do not do what vaccines traditionally have been said to do, which is, and again, we went over this at a previous show, the definition and how it's been changed, where you get this, it stimulates your immune response, and then you are inoculated from said disease. That's not how this thing works. As Mr. Fauci has told us, there's never been a claim, to my knowledge, by the companies who produce these things that they provide a they provide immunity. The claim has always been that they lessen the effects of the disease. So we're dealing with, so just from that standpoint, we're dealing with something unprecedented, because that's never been the purpose of vaccine. That's been labeled as something else medically. You got ripped off says the gas crisis is serious. When I drove to DC in August, gas was three. That's a lot. He said gas was only 350 in Colorado. it was roughly 230 in all other states. When I came for the rally, the average is down 350 across the board. Right? Yeah. I mean, I when when Trump was in office, there was places around here where gas had gotten um below $2, and now it's up to, I guess, the average around here, depending on where you go. It's about 340, 338, 341. You know, between 335 and 345. See, kind of fluctuates now in different parts of the area. Now, you go out to certain parts of Virginia, it's less. You go out to certain parts of Maryland, it's less. You go to certain parts of DC, it's more. But again, just from a, we're talking about nearly 100% increase from like, like I said, under two to three and a half. Um, and Unique One Express says someplace in Baltimore, $4. So, like, I remember when like only California got those type of prices, and now we're sitting here with, as a brother said, he and I can attest to this. He's literally driven across the country, at least from west to east, and so he's seen the gas price in 20 states, and so I take his word for it because I know he knows because he travels like that, and that's something that nearly everyone in America is affected by. And then you're not affected by that, just the cost of stuff like um, bread. Um, I don't drink regular milk, but bread, milk, those types of things. Uh, me and me and a brother actually were talking this morning. We were talking about some of these meat substitutes. The prices of some of those things have gone up probably 25%, to the point I don't even, and it probably wasn't good for me anyway. But I just I don't buy them. Can't afford them anymore. So taking them out my diet. Not for the health reasons that I probably should have taken them out of my diet for, but for just cost. And I there's nothing that I can see that's going to say that these prices are going to go down anytime soon. I know Mr. Biden made an announcement about the gas reserve or whatever, and releasing some oil from that will lower the prices, so forth, so on. I haven't seen the effect of that. I know he made the announcement a while ago. I wasn't really paying attention because, to be honest, there's a lot of stuff I haven't been paying attention to. Um, my my own schedule has been thrown up in the air for various reasons, so um, so it's a lot of stuff I've missed, but I haven't seen the effects of any policy implementation that he's done in regards to inflation. I haven't seen any positive effects. If anyone else has seen something where they see something that benefit the American citizens in that regard by the lowering of any prices of anything, any goods and services, y'all let me know. I haven't seen it. Again, we have the whole situation with the supply chain and whatever is happening there. There's a lot of speculation both ways on what's happening there. I'm not going to get into it. I've looked into it, but I don't have enough information to have an opinion. So I have just left it alone. But I think what we can say is that from an economic standpoint, Black people as a collective, we're already at the bottom of the totem pole economically in America. That's just a fact. That's non-debatable. I don't care how many people is balling on Instagram. I don't care how many millionaires there are in Atlanta. I don't care how much Bitcoin people are invested in. The vast majority of Black people are at the bottom of the economic totem pole. It's just a fact. When things go bad, we're affected first. When things go good, we're affected last. even with things like crypto and things like that, these things are popular now. Bitcoin is what, 8, 10 years old? People, the people who got in on that stuff a decade ago, I or however long it's been, maybe longer than that. I remember hearing about this stuff a long time ago. Time, the actual time frame is fuzzy. Those euros that was in on that, yeah, they made a fortune. You know what I'm saying? They made boatloads of money. But again, like everything else, black people last to know or last to be allowed into it. It doesn't matter. If it's an emerging technology and we're not the ones implementing the emerging technology, we're gonna be close to the last to know. And you got ripped off said those illegals have a better economy than absolutely. They have a better economy than us. They their their families are more intact than us. Um, they're able to they've been able to sustain and maintain their culture better than us. And don't get me started. And they're in a much better place and space than us. All of here in the DC metro area, when you see construction taking place in this area, largely, and there was, it's not as much now. It's kind of slowed down lately, but for a while, there's a lot of construction going on, especially before quote unquote pandemic. 75, 80% of those crews are people that you know are not citizens because they can't understand or speak any English. You know, they bring a crew of, they have a crew of 10, 15 guys. There are two guys who speak English and 13 dudes who are just listening to the other dudes, waiting for them to turn around and tell them what they're going to do in Spanish. That's literally how it works, at least in this city. You know what I'm saying? And I know this isn't the only place where that type of thing occurs. And so, yeah, I mean, just the sheer, if we went by percentages of uh, illegals, males working and able to maintain a family compared to black people, I think if we tried to dig up the statistical, I always have trouble saying that word for whatever reason, data on that, we'd be shocked at our position. We'd be shocked. And of course, we have this belief that there's this growing belief that men in the community aren't needed. But of course, I counter that by saying the condition of the community is a testament to the fact that men in the community are needed, because you would not have the chaos in the community that you have if you had more strong, courageous men willing to stand up and to resist the various forms of evil that we see in our community. Um, to go off completely off topic and go on a complete tangent for a moment, let's be real. Whether it is other people coming outside our community taking out women, which some of it is, whether it is people in our community who have decided to monetize exploitation, excuse me, of our women and children, people in our community, whether it's whoever it is, this that situation with missing people and missing children and exploited children and child abuse and all that is what is not possible until you weaken the men. Because when you have strong men, by definition, one of the things they're going to do is protect not only their children, but any children that are tangentially related to them. You see what I'm saying? Anything that looks weird or suspicious, as a man, you're gonna be looking. I remember, it's anecdotal. I remember one time I was visiting my grandmother, who is now our ancestor, and there was a young sister coming from school, and she was talking to some man in the car, And I went out and looked, and I'm looking. Then my cousin looked, and my cousin knew the little girls, and she yelled at the little girl's name. Then the dude looked up, and I started walking to the car, and then the dude pulled off or whatever. I ain't know what was going on. It didn't even matter. I ain't know the little girl. I ain't know nothing. I saw a little girl talking to a dude. He's a grown man. She's a little girl. They ain't related because the little girl didn't say nothing. You know what I'm saying? When my cousin said something to her, so I just letting them know whatever you trying to do, we see you, cuz. You know what I'm saying? But I just say that to say that's just how that's the natural inclination of a man. If something is, don't look right involving children, you just automatically just stop and look see what's going on and see if something that need to be handled. Um, you got ripped off says every time I went to DC, the Hispanics were always by that by that Home Depot. Yeah, absolutely, bro. No question. By that Home Depot for day laborers. Last time I seen nothing but brothers out there and no one picking them up. Yeah, it's to your point, you do always see them at the one. I know the one you talk about. You're talking about the one in the same center with Eli. To your point, man, it's so rare. I remember years ago, I knew some brothers doing construction, and they were literally going through the neighborhoods, the communities at the time, looking for brothers to just put on. I haven't seen that. I haven't seen that since. That's been years ago. You know, I've and I remember, yeah, I remember even a euro, a euro doing that. I was I was working somewhere and was talking to a euro. They were doing some construction in the same business district where I was working, and we were talking. And he asked me, he was like, anybody needs some work? Because I need to hire some people that live in the city. And he kind of looked like, yo, I got too many of these folks. I gotta get some regular people. In essence, the Euro was like, you know what I'm saying? And if you know any of your folks that need to be put on, I'll put them on. I'm not sure those types of things happen anymore, but it just goes to show that even then, and it's been easily 10 years ago, that they were dominating that part of the labor force here in the DMV. But so all that goes to show back to our original discussion, and I probably be on here for about 15 more minutes before I get out of here. This mandate, man, is regardless of how you feel about it, I don't see any way that it benefits black people in any way, shape, or form. Again, this is still a disease, BB for old Island. This is still a disease that well over 97 to 99% of people recover from. And as we saw, and I forgot about this, and because NFL is on right now, but the uh uh the Cowboys whole coaching staff. Well, I guess not the whole coaching staff because that would have been, but just as an example, right, of how these things don't benefit everyone. Because there's a perfect example. I can't believe I ain't think about it. I didn't even bring out an article. They just played this week. So in the NFL, right, all of the coaches were and other staff like GMs and I think even the trainers and all that. So all those people, right? Like in essence, almost all non-players. I don't know about referees, but on the team, like all the support staff and whatnot, all of them were mandated to take the jab. All of them, right? All the head coaches, all the assistant coaches, all the strength coaches, all the trainers, the general managers, like all these people, right? With an NFL team, it depends on the team how many coaches you are. But you talking about was it 32 teams? Uh, so you talking about well over 100 people easily. and maybe 200 or something. So all of those people are vaccinated, right? Supposedly, you know. Um, and so this, I'm assuming it happened this week. This week, the Dallas Cowboys had an outbreak amongst their coaches, and I think they had like two or three players, but they had like 8 coaches or 10 coaches or something. All of the coaches are vaccinated. We know that because that's the league policy. Now, of course, they're going to say that because I know one player definitely was unvaccinated. They're going to say that the one unvaccinated player, or they're going to spin it that way, gave it to the coaches. But again, in line with this policy, if everyone, if 90% of the players and 100% of the coaches, right, have received the jab, one person who hasn't received the jab getting sick should not be able to then make 6, 7, 8 coaches, right, test positive, and then but only one other player. If the this is a prime example. You got ripped off saying that Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers back. Yeah, I don't know if they got the Aaron Rodgers. um, but this is a prime example. You got ripped off, gotta be off target. That if the mandates worked, the coaches wouldn't be for the 6 or 8 or however many it was for the Cowboys, wouldn't have been out. The head coach, it's so funny because like it seemed like the day before they announced that he was positive, he said because he was talking about one of the players. The player had already been out. The player missed a game or 2 games, something like either 1 or 2 games. And he was saying, we're going to take precautions. So I'm taking precautions. I've gone, got a hotel room. I'm not around anybody, all this stuff, right? So he's already, this is the thing. He's been vaccinated, quote unquote. He's been jabbed, right? He's isolated away from it. He even with his family. He's not obviously around this player because this player tested positive. He already been, and so, and yet he still tests positive. He still missed the game. In the grand scheme of things, it didn't matter. They won, but and then the other coaches they missed it. I I don't know how many games they're gonna miss. I don't know how what their policy is. But to me, this is a prime example of even if you mandate this stuff and even if you force everyone to do it, it is no guarantee. And this was before they announced or right around the time they announced the new variant, right? At this point, there are going to be as many variants of C-19 as there are variants of Loki and Kang the Conqueror in the MCU. That's where we headed with this. But anyway, I digress. But that's a perfect example of what's going on in the NFL, where all the coaches and all these other people are jabbed up, and 90 something percent of the players, according to what they were talking about at the beginning of the year, are jabbed up. And then, nonetheless, every single week in the NFL, some team has 2, 3, 4 players, 2, 3 coaches. So, what are we talking about? Right? LeBron James, then he just tested positive. He was saying LeBron James, and if a BB40 man, he correct me if I'm wrong, because I know you're an NBA guy, but from my understanding, LeBron James, they kept asking him. I was under the impression that he took the jab, under pressure, and then next thing you know, he failed protocols and he had to miss some games, and then some other people I don't know because I don't watch the NBA like that. But then I keep seeing people, and I'm like, they've been pushing it in these situations with these athletes and whatnot, and 90% of the people are complying, and it's not stopping anything from happening. And so, to me, that's a perfect um, model to look at to see if there's any actual benefit for mandating this stuff, and at least for where the NBA, I mean not the NBA, excuse me, the NFL coaches are concerned, where they were in essence mandated by the league, the are a failure, right? People still testing positive, and we could get into the whole PCR test and all that. We're not going to do that here. We've done that. We've done that already. And so, and when I think about it, it's amazing because it's not about health. It's about compliance. Because the NFL model is a prime example of how the health benefits of mandates are minuscule. You see what I'm saying? Minuscule. And that the fact that you can have a whole staff, whole workforce who have been jabbed and still have this thing force people to test positive. And again, because of the nature of this situation, people can test positive and feel fine. People can not feel well and test negative. So what are we even talking about here in reality? And you got ripped off says the week of the rally, his office had multiple call offs due to a weird stomach illness. And everybody had the jab. Again, I mean, again, here we are. So, in the grand scheme of things, this is, like I said before, this is not about health. As much as the Biden administration wants to put this under some type of some type of emergency situation, there's no medical proof that um, forcing mandates, forcing people to get jabbed, will avert any type of current medical situation that's taking place because, again, being jabbed does not stop you from either testing positive, having symptoms, or passing it on. In fact, there was a player, I believe it was an offensive lineman for the Minnesota Vikings. It just came to me. Who it was a big deal because he was jabbed and he was in the hospital. Of course, an offensive lineman, large human being, and he, you know what I'm saying, was in the hospital and they was worried about whether he was going to make it. And again, we're talking about world class athletes who are 25, 26 years old who just happen to be jabbed, test positive, and go to the hospital. So, in the grand scheme of things, if you ask him, I'm not sure that there was any benefit at all to him being jabbed. B48 man says he ultimately took the jab, which is what I thought. NBA requires two consecutive positive tests before a player is put into the safety protocol. LBJ only tested positive for one. He won't miss any. He won't miss any games. Okay, okay. I wasn't sure the whole situation, but I knew he had took the jab, and I knew that he had had a positive test. And so again, going to show that if we were dealing with a different medical situation, maybe it would be understandable. But because the jab doesn't stop you from testing positive and or passing on the virus, the need to mandate this is um is very uh I can't even think of the word. I don't see the need for it. And I think most people, if they actually looked at it, and I think the courts, when they look at the, as I like to say, the preponderance of the evidence, you know, and they weigh it in the balance. And of course, again, the Biden administration has said this is a medical emergency. This is an emergency situation. We've been dealing with this situation for a year and a half. In essence, Everything was shut down in what, February 2020. We've been told that the shutdown would was necessary, right? We've been told that masks were necessary. We've been told that social distancing was necessary. We've been told that now the jab is necessary. Now we've been told that the booster to the jab is necessary. And yet the end result has been that the quote unquote pandemic continues unabated ad infinitum at this point. And though people have largely complied with each step of the way, there has been no, uh, there appears to be no end in sight for this whole process, right? So, to me, then you have to ask the question of what's really going on. They keep saying that they're saying that the numbers are rising. They're saying that people are being hospitalized. I know people in the medical field. I try to keep in contact with them about these situations. I have not received. They have not notified me that this thing is to the level that it was at the beginning, when it wasn't really understood and where there were no medical protocols in place, and some of the procedures. Let's be honest. Some of the procedures that were going on, right, that the medical community were doing, were not helping people. That's all I'm gonna say. You know what I'm saying? Try not to get my channel deleted yet, so I can't say everything I want to say. But let's just say they were not helping people. Again, if we remember, there were nurses who were coming on social media saying that the doctors were not listening to them, and that the treatments that they prescribed were harming and not helping people. I think we all remember those videos. I saw plenty of them. Talk to nurses. They talked about their frustration with the situation. This took place. Whether you can even find that stuff on the internet anymore with everything going on, I don't know. But I remember it distinctly. I also remember talking to people who were working uh, totally different parts of the country. Now I think about, one was working up in New York with that situation taking place, and one was working all out in California, and another one down in Texas. Let's see. Brother, I will say there's more and more people get the jab, the more they blame the unjabbed. Right, right. Even though the percentage of unjabbed goes down, how then are they exactly? And let's see. You got Ripped Off says number rising. My employer has 439 beds, and last year the most CV inpatients they had were 70. They just they just released this data last week. Oh wow! So they've been so they've been holding on to that. Man, speaking of holding on to data, and then I'm gonna get off here because y'all know how I tend to ramble at the end. But um, did y'all see? And I didn't have an article where they, and y'all correct me. I'm not sure which company it was, but one of the companies said that they wanted to hold the data from their research on the jab for 50 years, I believe. So somebody help me out, because I just saw somebody post it, and I didn't grab the article at the time because I wanted to grab the article and make a short form video on that. But I found that interesting. I mean, what would be the reason for holding that information for? And again, I thought it said 50 years. Now I could have been wrong, because I mean, that's, even for corporations, that's like extreme, 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 right? Oh, you said it's the FDA themselves. It wasn't a yeah. You said 50 years to produce a 4-year report, Freedom of Information Act. Now, if anybody's ever done if you ever done a 4-year request, um, usually one of two things happens: either they take forever, or you get it relatively quickly, and so much stuff is redacted that you don't get any useful information. Um, I said I would do it But one day I'm gonna do a FOIA request on myself. I'm sure they've added to it since the back in the day. I'm sure they've added to my file. They probably got a couple of different files. Don't even realize it's the same person. To be honest, um, you know, one day I probably won't tell y'all publicly, but those that know me, I'll tell y'all some stories. You know, that I know before the age of surveillance that I was under. I've been under surveillance before, and now with the internet and your phone and all types of stuff like that, I don't think they have to do a whole lot of targeted surveillance. I think we have so many devices around us and so many things around us that they pretty much can find out whatever they want. More than likely, what they probably just do is they probably just do in-person surveillance as an intimidation tactic more so than anything else. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some regular guy fighting for black people in the 21st century. That's me. You know what I'm saying? That's DC Radical One. Doing what I've been doing off and on since I was 16 years old, you know. So I started this last century. And I'm gonna be honest, there were many things that we thought we would see in our lifetime. There were many things that we would thought we would have to fight in our lifetime. And there were many things that we thought kind of when people talked about, we thought it was kind of extreme and kind of ridiculous. The things that I have seen in the last few years, the types of assault we have faced, the for lack of a better word, conspiracies that I've seen evidence of against black people. No matter how bad you think it gets, one thing I realized, it can always get worse. And we have no idea how strong and powerful black people are to survive the things we have survived this long and to repel the number and the type and the sophistication of assaults that we face over time without us even this is the thing, without us even being fully aware of it, with only a small percentage of people being aware of what's going on, we've managed to resist. As Dr. Collins said, we managed to resist to exist. And for that, I'm proud of black people. I'm gonna be honest. I'm proud of black people who have resisted knowingly. I'm proud of black people who have resisted unknowingly. Because sometimes black people don't do stuff because they just think, I don't know about that. They don't have no explanation. You know, they can't explain it. They can't explain why this jab's a perfect example. Some black people they just against the jab because they I don't know about that. That's their explanation. Yeah, I don't know, bro. You're not going, nah, man, I ain't messing with it. Why? Man, look, I don't know. I've literally had that conversation with people. Then I was like, okay, I can respect that. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, yes, I'm glad you resisted. So I got one announcement real quick, and I'm gonna get off again. Upcoming, right now, normally every year we celebrate Dr. Chancellor Williams Day, and normally every year we have the gravesite ceremony and the lecture. This year, we're not going to do the lecture on his birthday. And I will let you all know by next week. What we're either going to do is we're either going to do the two lectures, the Dr. Khaled and the Chancellor Williams and Dr. Khaled lectures, because they're two parts of the same lecture. I'm either going to do those back to back weekends. That's probably I'll probably end up doing them back to back weekends, or I will bypass the Dr. Chancellor Williams lecture altogether and only do the Dr. Khaled lecture. With that being said, the gravesite ceremony we will do, and we do not have a flyer for it yet. But what we'll do, uh, I'm going to make the announcement here, and then we should have a flyer this week, and we'll send it out for everybody on our email list. And when I do another set of videos or I do the live stream next week, I will put that information there. But here, I'm gonna let y'all know. Dr. Chancellor Williams Day celebration will be on December 19th, Sunday, December 19th at noon, at high noon, at Lincoln Memorial Cemetery. That's 4001 Suitland Road, Suitland, Maryland, 20748. And that is Section O, Lot 618, Grave 5. And we have done that ceremony for the last, I believe, 4 years. If I'm not mistaken, we started that in 2017. So 2 weeks from today, in fact, we will be out at the cemetery. Um, we will be at the cemetery doing that. And you got ripped off. Said, "Hey, don't forget to ban the next program, brother. You know I'm rusty. I appreciate you. I I appreciate it. You know what I'm saying. In fact, I'm gonna throw it up right now just so people are like, what banner? This banner here. Um, but I appreciate the brother for reminding me because I forgot, and I kept looking at the screen like I'm missing something. I'm missing something. But yeah, I was missing that. So again, 2 weeks from today, we will be celebrating Dr. Chancellor Williams, and we will have a gravesite ceremony to remember Dr. Chancellor Williams and uplift his name. And then we will move forward. And y'all, you know what? Y'all tell me before I go. The Chancellor Williams Africans versus Everybody lecture has largely remained the same. It's been slightly updated each year. Y'all tell me if that's something that y'all would like me to present again this year. So y'all vote one for yes and two for no, real quick. And while y'all doing that, what I'm going to say is you can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1, on Twitter at dc underscore radical underscore ONE, at OTWTube at DC Radical 1. The Cash App is dollar sign DC Radical 1. Of course, this is the YouTube, capital D, small c Radical 1. And the email is dc.radical underscore 1 at protonmail.com. And while I wait for the votes to come in, and I'll remember the banner next time, brother, because I definitely forgot this time. Because it's been 2 months, and when you're always on the verge of getting banned, it's hard to maintain a flow. But I definitely plan to be back next Sunday. And oh, I forgot. Next Saturday night, I'm gonna do a Saturday night show and a Sunday night show as of right now, unless my schedule changes. Next Saturday, I want to do a show on the state of Black conscious relationships. Um, there's been some things I've seen lately that makes me think that this is a discussion that's worth having. Um, and if you already subscribed to the page, you should have got the notification for that. I'm at the right now. I'm at the point where I'm debating the format. I'm debating whether or not I'm just going to do that show by myself, or maybe have maybe one or two sisters and one other brother on and talk about it. I might do it like that. I haven't decided yet. I think most of the time when I do relationship shows, I normally have panelists. So that will probably be, I'll probably have panelists if I can find people who I feel are um, appropriate and who I feel like have something to contribute to that discussion. And Unique One Express says, do I still plan to bring the singles mixes back? I'm looking into it. I haven't, it's funny you mentioned that. I want to, but I have to look at the logistics of it and to um the ability to for the event to be successful. It's what I want to do, but I gotta like get the temperature of the people and see if people are still ready for something like that. So it's in the plans. It would more than likely if I do that, it'll be springtime. Um, it won't be it won't be before March. I put it like that. And you got, Riff, I said you gotta have actual couples on. I want some of both. And I, finding actual couples where both the man and the woman are firmly in this movement has suddenly become a lot harder than it used to be. And then also finding people that actually want to be on because it's SBPM, and so I trust me, I understand. Like everything, anything where somebody feels like appearing on the platform may uh, jeopardize their employment and things like that. I understand. You know, these mandates. you know, people have people have had to make a decision about that. So I get it. I understand why people are reluctant. Um, I do know. Yeah, I do know. I know a couple of couples I could ask. So I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, that will be an ongoing discussion. That wouldn't be a one time thing. It may be something where I have two couples on, and maybe something where I have couples and singles. Maybe something where it may be two different shows with just the couples and just the singles. I haven't really. And in fact, what I may end up doing, you got ripped off. I may end up doing the first show by myself, the second show with couples, and the third show with singles. I may end up doing something like that. I may where that's an ongoing thing, assuming, of course, the channel's not deleted. Got to throw that caveat in there. So, with that, brothers and sisters, I am going to close out. You all will be hearing from me this week. If depending on my schedule, I may just start coming on in the evenings on a couple of days this week. So be on the lookout for that. If so, I'll post it on Instagram, and you'll see the notifications on YouTube with that. And again, you can follow me on Instagram at dc.radical1. Of course, this is the YouTube channel, which is capital D, small c, radical one. You can follow me on Twitter at DC underscore radical underscore ONE. The OTW2 page is at DC Radical One, all one word. You can donate via the Cash App at $ DC Radical One. And the email is dc.radical underscore one at protonmail.com. Again, I thank you all for listening. I thank you all for subscribing. I thank you all for telling your friends about me. I thank you all who support in person. Special shout out to brother you got ripped off who comes and supports us from across the country. Um, and I just thank everybody, man, that's been riding with us and supporting us as we try to take and make this movement grow. And we've definitely been under assault, and we don't tell y'all everything that goes on, but yeah, it's been a fight and will continue to be a fight. But again, we're fighting for our people to become liberated and to remain free and sane. So with that, I say a BB for Hodie and straight black pride.